Hey guys, welcome to another exciting episode of the Stash Report from the Stash Project. Today's the 23rd of October, 2015. Only one more week to go before we plunge into November. Told you 2016 was going to be here before you know it. So we got a few reissues, a couple of new kits out, a couple of them actually genuinely new. Although, technically speaking, one's already been out, but it's finally out in U.S. distribution. A couple modified reissues. So, looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 new kits, all told. Or new to you, anyway. We really don't have too much on the kit information side of things. We're starting to put together, obviously, the November list for our compilation video right now. Well, that's about it. We're just cruising through the end of the month here, getting the last of the Japanese releases out, and of course the U.S. releases are starting to finally hit the shelves. The one little bit of kit information we do have, as far as, well, not kit information, but decal information. I know you guys, you love my decal updates. Studio 27 has announced that they're going to be doing 3 of the factory livery versions for the Porsche 918 Weissach version. That kit actually is out in Europe. If you go digging around on eBay, there's a retailer, I believe in Great Britain, who is selling it for around about $42 shipped out of Britain if you need it well in advance of the U.S. release, which will probably be December more than likely, if not actually January. But the deal with the Weissach version is there's 918 of the 918s being built, and like 50 of them or somewhere in that neighborhood are being built with this really stripped down race car sort of inspired build style to them. That should cost you an extra $150,000 to lose your air conditioning and every creature comfort to have this street legal race car. And part of the deal is that they will sell you the car already sort of pre-decaled up in a vintage Porsche inspired livery. The one that's coming with the box straight out of Revell of Germany is the Martini version. People, I don't even know where it is in the video, but if you go way back into our archives and look at the Nuremberg Toy Fair release, we had a picture of the tentative box art back then. They're doing the black version of the Martini sponsorship. Now, Studio 27 is going to be doing the white car, I believe, or they may be doing both of them to do the black or the white car. It's a different car number as far as what they're inspired by. There's also a golf-inspired livery. So you get some, paint the car the Golf blue and Golf orange, although I suspect the orange will probably be the decals. And they're also doing a Salzburg-inspired racing livery. So this is going to look like the Salzburg factory race team that Ferdinand Pierce put together originally. Very cool red scallops on a white car. I wish I had something to show you as far as the decals go. I forgot to download pictures of the real cars, but all of those are going to probably be running about $18 a piece, and can set apart your Weissach version, should you choose to get one, away from just building at box stock and having just the same black Martini livery that everybody else will. You have options for a couple of 3 different cars there. So that's really it as far as new information goes. As far as kit releases over here on the U.S. side of things, from MPC. Normally we wouldn't necessarily cover something like this, but it's the only MPC kit, or only round 2 kit that's in so far this month, and that is the 1/25th scale, the General. This is the 440 wood-burning steam locomotive, famous for being part of the great locomotive chase across Georgia during the Civil War. This, like I said, is a 1/25th scale kit. It's an old, 60s, 70s tool somewhere in there. It's about 2 feet long, comes with a little set of rotor tracks to display it on. It's just, because it's the right scale, so to speak, for 1/24th, 1/25th scale, which we deal with mostly here on the show. Just mentioning it, it's out there. It's like $70 straight from round 2, so expect it probably be, in that ballpark at your local hobby shop, should you choose to go after it. The other, this is like I said, the official U.S. distribution of the Porsche 918 Spyder is officially out. Actually, a good friend of mine got his from his local hobby shop in Columbus tonight. So they are out. It's not a situation of, well, they're on eBay, but nowhere else. But no, they're in the hobby shops. They're in distribution. So if you want this and you didn't want to pay the again, $40 some odd dollars it was going to cost you to import it directly out of Europe, you can now pick this up. I believe the list price on it is somewhere in the neighborhood of like $35 or so, because I think his hobby shop had it on the shelf for $39.99, but his hobby shop also tends to mark things up quite a bit. I'm expecting this to probably be, like I said, about $33, $35 to get it through a show vendor or another sort of outlet like that. I believe I saw Omni Hobbies had it for about $30 plus shipping, or $31 plus shipping. So it's going to be in the same range that all the other Revell of Germany releases of, imported kits are. That may be, we don't know, because Revell didn't do anything for the fourth quarter as far as a flyer goes. That may be reboxed and released by Revell next year sometime. That was the theory behind it, at least when Revell showed it there's a hobby club or model car club in Chicago that Revell does a lot of interactions with, and they got to see the kits up close probably 3 months ago. And that was at least the theory, was that the 918 would get reboxed. Whether or not, we'll have to wait until probably December, maybe late November, before we maybe get a first quarter kind of release flyer. I've given up hope on there being a fourth quarter one, because we're almost in November now. And then that takes us overseas. So we got the one actual, I guess, new kit, although really not totally new. And this is the Ebro only version of the Citroen 2CV pickup. This is a sort of a very unique, specific pickup truck. You may recall that Ebro and Asuka went in on doing a Royal Navy version of this, and it came out about 2 months ago. This is essentially the same kit, except it does not have the Royal Navy logos. It doesn't have that cool little tarp piece to the back. But otherwise, it's pretty much the same kit. It does not have an engine. It was supposed to. When it was originally displayed, it had an engine runner. It may make me think that perhaps later on down the road they're going to pull a Revell here and release it with more parts, maybe. I don't know why it doesn't have one. This is essentially the Fourgonay with a pickup box on the back of it. This is completely and totally Ebro's tooling this time around. This is not sharing anything with the Tamiya 2CV. Maybe patterned after it extensively, but it's not actually, at least from what I've seen of the parts runners, is not the actual 2CV parts runners like the Fourgonay actually had. This builds a slightly earlier Citroen 2CV than the existing 2CVs that are on the market now. Also, this kit is specific to the, I hope I'm pronouncing this right, somebody from the UK can correct me, I'm sure, but I believe it's Slough factory that Citroen had in England. So this only builds right-hand drive, only builds the UK version of this. That is pretty much where the pickup truck started being manufactured. But then they, of course, went on to be manufactured elsewhere with left-hand drive dashboards and the not specific made in Britain hood ornament that you get with this kit. I have one, just because I've been waiting for it. I am disappointed it doesn't have an engine. The alternatives to this are to buy, either a Tamiya 2CV or the 2CV Fourgonay and steal the engine out of it, because pretty much other than that, it should be the same. You may have to steal the entire drivetrain actually out of the 2CV or 2CV Fourgonay to get it to fit. There is sort of an engine bottom to this, so there's not a huge. It's not just a flashed over hole like a lot of Fujimi kits would be necessarily, but it's certainly not a full detail kit. The hood opens on this thing, but that may be because the front clip of this thing is from the Fourgonay, and that had an engine in it. Well, it is what it is. Although the thing I gotta say, the thing that annoys me about this kit release is the fact that it's the exact same thing as the Royal Marines Ebro Asuka combo version. It costs more, and you get less. You got some sort of neat little, military-ish things. It was definitely aimed at military builders, even though obviously for a military builder it's the wrong scale. It's not 1/35th or 1/48th scale. But you don't get an engine. You lose the tarp material. You lose the decals. you lose I think it was jerry cans or something else with it. You lose all those parts, and you pay $10 more for that privilege. I assumed that the $10 more covered the engine that was not in the Ebro Asuka version, but it is what it is, I guess. Fujimi released 2 more old reissued kits. This is, of course, the Infinity Q45. This comes with Window Mask for the first time, and for the first time in quite a long time as far as the kit reissues, because this has been a fairly staple kit in Fujimi's toolbox, so to speak. This does come with the left-hand drive US spec interior and obviously the left-hand drive wipers and stuff like that. The last several reissues of this kit have not had that. They've been JDM only, so that's kind of an interesting feature. If you've been thinking about perhaps getting one of these, Fujimi and Aoshima both made this kit back in the day, back in like 1992. That's what this tooling is from. Aoshima did not include a left-hand drive in their kit. However, there are some kits floating around out there that American Satco, you may remember that name, they did a whole bunch of tires and stuff like that, as well as doing the distribution for Aoshima during the early 90s. They, in a lot of kits, made these very unfortunate resin lumps of a dashboard that they included in and said, no, it includes left-hand drive, which was fine and dandy, except that it didn't include any of the other left-hand drive parts like wipers or, any of the North American or even export out of Japan spec left-hand drive stuff. It just included a hacked together, one-off. Well, not a one-off because they made probably several hundred of them, but you know what I mean. They were very, very slush cast. They were big chunks of resin. They were not at all, dainty, good model house quality resin. They were pretty dumpy. I have one, and I regret buying it. I had to go down and track down a really old version of this that actually had the left-hand drive dash. Of course, 2 years later, here it is out. The other kit that's being reissued, technically considered to be new because it hasn't been out again probably since the early 90s, and this is legitimately not out since the early 90s. This is the Y31 chassis or generation, Nissan Cedric and Gloria. The Cedric will be up front, the Gloria is out back in this picture. Gran Turismo SV. These kits gives a 2-in-1. You can build it either way. It does include window mask for the first time. These cars are very, 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 very similar. The only difference between these cars as far as the actual way to make it a Cedric or Gloria is the front grills are different, the front headlights are different, the rear taillights are different, and then the interior, the dashboard, is different. Other than that, they are 100% the same car. This is very much badge engineering at its finest, although technically these are both Nissans. I believe the Cedric was considered to be more sporty and athletic, and the Gloria was more of the luxury model. But, it's, I think they're $18 a piece or something like that, or $18 a piece, or $18 for the 2-in-1. You obviously can't build both at the same time. It's a 2-in-1, not a 2-for-1. It's kind of neat to have back out. This is another kit that Aoshima also made, but Aoshima has not reissued it probably since the early 90s either. It's a halfway decent kit, curbside and all the rest of that nonsense, but it's not bad. It's the Aoshima kit is not much better. Actually, the Aoshima kit of this Y31 specifically has an old motorized chassis in it, and this one is not, so that does give that a slight thumbs up. And then last but not least here, Aoshima did release the last of their October kits, and they are the Rojam Kiwami Super VIP cars. This is the 2012 Crown Athlete version, and then there's also the silver Crown Royal Saloon version. You'll notice as you look, I'm going to flip back and forth between them as we talk, they both have the same set of wheels. They are new wheels specific to this kit. They are not previously existing wheels. And then beyond that, this is pretty much your straight-up standard Crown Athlete and Crown Royal Saloon. The only things that are added to it are that sort of lower, this shows up better on the silver one, the lower ground effects. There's sort of a front bumper spoiler lip thing. There's some side skirts, and then a wraparound piece for the rear end, which doesn't really show up on either one of these. But there is a sort of a wraparound piece for the bottom of the bumper. Beyond that, they're just straight-up stock Crown Royals and Crown Athletes. It's a very to me, I'm not very big into the whole giant super VIP monster camber, cars that like the Hyper Zero Crown, the K Brakes Hyper Zero, custom thing that just came out. And there's another one coming out at the end of the year, and then there's been so many of these other similar Produce Junction and Parfum and all these other super VIP cars that are really slammed, really cambered, really big wheels, which is the style. I'm not knocking it, but these are more my speed, where it's a new set of wheels, lowered, not a lot of camber, and some ground effects, and I think it makes a very tasteful car as far as the VIP thing goes. It's not really wildly out there Japanese. And I guess that's it. Yep. So we're waiting on one reissue out of Hasegawa and 3 more kits out of Fujimi, and then there's there's a couple 3 U.S. kits that have not come out this month. But other than that, we are rolling along quite well. Easy for me to say, but you know what? It's really late, and I actually need to get to bed because I got to go to work in a couple hours. So we'll catch you guys. See you on the other side.